Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer, back from 49ers practice in Santa Clara today. And we have some massive injury news for the 49ers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where there were two starters not on the field today for the 49ers. Two starters on the defensive side missing practice today. We're going to get to that. We'll also talk a little bit about Nick Bosa, that contract. There's been a lot of discussion around Nick Bosa, around that contract, around the 49ers salary cap situation, and the possibility of them slipping into salary cap hell in the future, not so distant future. Some people have thought. Also, we'll just kind of get into a lot of different stuff as far as what happened today at practice. So let's get this thing started. Want to shout out E. Kim over in the comment section who says, hey, Jack, hey, E, good to have you on board. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. Two 49er starters missing practice today. Talanoa Hufanga, he was out. Also, and the one I think is more important, Charvarius Ward. He was held out due to an injury with his heel. The injury to Ward would be a significant blow to the 49ers secondary if he can't play on Sunday, especially when you look at the 49ers and the way that this offseason has gone, the way that training camp went in the preseason, with the struggles that they had in the slot, in particular with Isaiah Oliver, depending on the direction that they're planning on going. According to Kyle Shanahan, he was on the radio with KNBR earlier this afternoon, just moments ago, speaking on this situation. According to Shanahan, what happened was that Ward injured that heel during practice a little bit yesterday. It's not something that he thinks is going to be overly a problem. He thinks that that Charvarius Ward has a really good shot at going in the game on Sunday against the Steelers. But again, this is big news just because you have two of the starting players in your secondary, two of your four, Talanoa Hufanga, Charvarius Ward, both missing practice today. As far as Hufanga, he was out for personal reasons. He's been dealing with a knee. He had a Baker's cyst on his knee that had kept him out of practice for a little while. He was back on the field yesterday. Today he was out, but that was, like I said, due to personal reasons according to the team. Charvarius Ward out due to an injury with his heel. We'll see how this plays out. Heel injuries, foot injuries, never a good thing when it comes to defensive backs. And the 49ers need to have their DBs, especially in this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a very good wide receiver crew, good tight end as well. They're going to be challenged in the secondary, I think, by Kenny Pickett. So you start to look at this game, and depending on how well Talanoa Hufanga is in terms of his health, if Charvarius Ward, if he's dealing with a heel injury, that could cause him to struggle. We saw struggles out of him last year when he dealt with some injuries. So, you look at this offense that they're going to be going up against: Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson. They have some really good receivers out there in Pittsburgh that they're going to have to deal with in turn. And also, the running game with Najee Harris causes some problems. Pat Freiermuth is a really nice tight end as well. So this is an offense that really could cause some problems for the San Francisco 49ers. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what we saw last year in Las Vegas, right? This is an offense that can stretch you horizontally because they can stretch you out, and then they can also go deep on you. That's when the 49ers really have troubles, when they've got to cover every area of the field. If they can kind of zero in on one spot, they'll usually have a good chance at you. But in this situation, I just don't see this as one where that they really have that advantage this time. So Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson, three good wide receivers, and the 49ers dealing with Charvarius Ward having some injuries with his heel. So we'll see what happens. Luke Walsh says he's a member of the Toolbox. Says starters out. I'll need to suit up. Well, again, it's the practice report. According to Kyle Shanahan and their practice report today, there were two starters in the secondary who were out today. Charvarius Ward dealing with a heel injury suffered yesterday, and Talanoa Hufanga, who's been dealing with a knee injury, he is out right now due to personal reasons. So both those guys missing practice. The heel injury with Charvarius Ward, that is one that you need to be a little bit worried about. So you got to be careful on that one. Let's see what happens. Like I said, Kyle Shanahan on the radio came on this afternoon. This was after I had already left the facility, already had this set up to go. He says that he thinks that Charvarius Ward will be good to go. The problem that we have is that we don't get an update directly from the coaches on Thursday at practice. On Thursdays at practice, Kyle Shanahan doesn't speak. The coordinators talk. So you have Chris Verster goes up. He talks about the offense. Steve Wilkes talks about the defense. They do not deal with injuries, though. So they don't answer any injury questions at all. So we'll see how this works out. It's not an Achilles. It's not that. It's just it's a heel injury. If it was a something to do with his calf in that area, I think there might be a little bit more worry when it comes to the Achilles, but not in this situation. I think they're going to be okay. And like E. Kim says over here, George Pickens is really good for Pittsburgh. Absolutely, 100%. So we'll see how that works out. East Coast Red and Gold podcast mentioning that they're not concerned about Ward. Kyle said it on KBR. That's the interview that I'm talking about. They think that he's going to be fine. We've heard them talk about that before. We don't know for sure. It's one of those things to keep an eye on. As I said, we don't know exactly where they are. We'll find out more about this tomorrow, but he wasn't able to practice today. He might be able to practice tomorrow. We'll find out. So he was out as far as practice goes today. He was not on the field. So that's the reason for the title. That's where we are right now. Alan Elizer says, hello, Jack. How's it going? Let's go Niners. Debo that like button. Thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate that. Also, just kind of looking through some of the comments, just wanted to see what's going on. Andrew says, aren't you going to watch the game, Jack? Actually, I have a change, so I had to cancel my flight actually this afternoon. So I will not be in Pittsburgh as originally planned, but I'll be reporting on the game, and I will definitely be in Los Angeles the following week because I'm not able to get out to Pittsburgh. The hope is that I can reschedule for another one, or when the playoffs come, if the Foreigners have to go on the road more than just for the championship game, I can get out to that. So it's a bummer. I really wanted to get out to Pittsburgh. It's just not working for me right now, so I'll have to do that another time. But like I said, I'll be down in Vegas or in Los Angeles. I'll be at the home games. I'll be at most of the games this season. I'll be at as many as I can. So it just is what it is. In terms of other practice notes from today. So again, Charvarius Ward missing practice, and so did we had Charvarius Ward missing practice along with Talon Hufanga. A couple other notes when it comes to the practice today. John Feliciano and Trent Williams, they both missed Wednesday's practice. Feliciano was out yesterday with an illness. Trent Williams had a rest day. They were both up back at practice today, Feliciano, Williams. That's a good development, especially with Feliciano as that backup interior offensive lineman, basically can play all three of those interior spots. He was back. George Kittle, been dealing with a groin injury. We saw some videos on the channel from yesterday. Today, he looked like he was good again, running routes really crisp, and he looks like he's ready to go, and he'll be ready on Sunday. So that's good news with George Kittle. The other one that was really interesting to me was Ray McLeod. He was out there actually running routes today. Yesterday, pretty much was just fielding punts, but today, he was out there. He was running routes with the receivers, with the quarterbacks, having no problems catching the ball with that thumb. Remember, he injured his thumb, and it was thought that he was going to miss up to 8 weeks, which would have taken him to about week 4 at that time. But he's healing quickly, and right now it looks like he's going to be ready to go on Sunday. So that's a positive development as well, because Ray McLeod is a big piece of this 49ers offense. Really helps them out special teams-wise. Ray McLeod looks like he's going to be ready to go against the Steelers as well. This is going to be a fun game on Sunday. We'll get into it a little bit more down the road in terms of what the Foreigners are going to have to do. But this is really shaping up to be a nice game to open up. It's going to be a tough one out there in Pittsburgh. The other players, Oren Burks, Tayshaun Gibson, Jordan Mason, Jake Moody, they were all on hand as well today at practice during at least during the portion that was open to the media. Mason moving really good, both when he's working with the quarterbacks in the running game portion of it, and then when they were getting into some of the passing stuff as well, he just looked like he was moving around really nice for a player who was dealing with a foot injury. Jake Moody out there with he had the quad injury. According to Kyle Shanahan, it seems like he's going to be on pace to play on Sunday and make his debut in terms of regular season and be able to see what we can do. He struggled during the preseason with a couple of some misses during preseason. Now it's time to go, and you got to be able to get out there and make these kicks. And Jake Moody is going to be a big part of that for the Flyers this year, and it looks like he's going to be ready to go on Sunday for the 49ers against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another little interesting piece of news that came out today, this is actually thanks to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They come out and they're talking about the fact that the 49ers tipped some plays and those types of things. And it sounds to me like they're thinking that they're going to be able to pick up some interceptions, make some plays on the ball. Patrick Peterson, the defensive back of the Pittsburgh Steelers, says that the 49ers offense has towels and that he predicts that he's going to get an interception on Sunday. This is an interesting one to me, considering that Patrick Peterson's played a lot of games against the San Francisco 49ers with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach. Remember, Pat Peterson spent a lot of time with the Arizona Cardinals. The amount of time that he intercepted a pass so far, 0. Patrick Peterson says that the Flyers offense has tells and he's going to get a pick on Sunday. This coming from a guy who hasn't picked off a pass against the 49ers yet. So in his career, especially with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Andrew's saying the Kansas City game. Yeah, I'll get to the Kansas City game a little bit later. 49ers are the team that I cover. I know you guys all want to talk 49ers. We'll get to Kansas City and Detroit later on, see how that game's going. I know Detroit's on a nice march from what I saw when I came over here. Let's see what else we got. So that's what happened at practice today. One other thing, didn't get to it, but we'll get to it now. There was a bear sighting in Santa Clara today. Actually, it was last night. They spotted it, but then it moved from the San Jose airport. It had gotten out of the airport and was in Santa Clara today. Yes, there was a bear sighting at 4949 Centennial Boulevard in Santa Clara. That's right. Nick Bosa on the field for the first time this season. He has not been in Santa Clara practice at all. He made his appearance. There's some video of that here on the channel. If you want to check it out, go ahead and do that. You can see what you're going to see on the channel is what he did all day today. Did not participate in practice. He was working on a side field, went through stretches, went through some work on the side. Like I said, he was working with the 49ers strength and conditioning coach, Dustin Perry. They were working together on the side field, doing stretches, There was some running involved. At one point, they went over and he worked on some get-offs, pass rush type of moves. Again, working against air by himself, not with the defense, not with the team today. So that's where the 49ers are in regards to Nick Bosa. But that's good news. According to Kyle Shanahan, looking at everything that's going on, you're going to see Nick Bosa on the field on Sunday. Today, like I said, it was a light practice for him. Didn't work with the team, but he was out there. And I will expect to see him play on Sunday. He's going to, I would say, they haven't set a number of plays for Nick Bosa for this game. Kyle Shanahan mentioning that he was going to be speaking with the coaching staff about that later on today. They finally got a chance to see him. They got to put some eyes on him. Again, he didn't go through the practice with the team, so that leaves a little bit of doubt. But what I would expect when it comes to Nick Bosa is I think that we're going to see him play probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 snaps. Probably mostly what you're going to see there is it's going to be similar to, just a pass rushing type of situations, third downs, maybe some second downs, depending on the situation where things are in that game. So, with Nick Bosa missing all of the preseason, just getting the first work with the team on probably going to be tomorrow because he didn't get any today. That's kind of what I'm thinking we're going to see from them. You go back to Nick Bosa's first career game with the 49ers. That was out in Tampa Bay back in 2019. And if you remember that season, Bosa had come in and he had injured his ankle early on in training camp, and he missed a lot of time during that training camp. So they went into the first week against Tampa Bay. He was still a part of that game plan, but he only played 55% of the snaps. So they had 69 total defensive snaps in that game. Nick Bosa taking just 38 of them. I think we're going to see something like that this weekend on Sunday out in Pittsburgh. I would not expect to see Nick Bosa play the full game. Normally, he's a guy that puts up, into the high 60s, 70s, sometimes into the 80s in terms of the percentages of snaps that he gets to play. I don't think we're going to see that from him this time. I think 55 seems a little bit more likely, somewhere around there, like 50 to 55% of the snaps. So, take it from there in terms of the numbers. So we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 35 to 40 snaps for Nick Bosa on Sunday would be what my expectation is. Luke Walsh says Peterson was criticizing Purdy. Debo will run over him. There's been a lot of people taking shots at Brock Purdy lately from different areas, whether it's the ranking that came out recently that had him 32nd best in the NFL. There's been some talk about the comments made by the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, where he talked about the offense being more about Kyle Shanahan than the quarterback. Those types of things. All those are the types of things I would expect to see. The 32nd is a little goofy to me. I don't think that he's anywhere close to the 32nd best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's much higher than that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. He's going to be the starting quarterback of the 49ers, and it's up to him to prove everybody wrong. It's not, we can sit here, we can talk about it, we can say that they're wrong. But right now, they're not wrong because we don't know, because they haven't played a game yet this season. Brock Purdy's it's on him to go out there. Just like I talked a lot this offseason about Trey Lance, right? You got to come out, you got to prove yourself. And Brock Purdy needs to come out on Sunday. He needs to prove himself. He needs to prove that what happened last year wasn't a fluke. He needs to prove that he can go into a hostile environment and win a ball game. This is different than going up to Seattle last year because it's week 1 and Pittsburgh, very good at home early in the season. And this is a different type of a game. First week, 49ers generally struggle on offense in week 1. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with Brock Purdy, how he's going to handle the pressure of Pittsburgh. There's going to be a lot of pressure from that defensive front as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this offense works. I'm looking forward to seeing how Brock Purdy handles the pressure that he's going to see. And I agree with Luke here. I do think that we're going to watch Deebo Samuel run over some people. I think Deebo Samuel's in really nice shape, the best shape that he's been in since 2021 when he put up over 1,400 yards. So I think they're in a really good spot, but there are some really good things to keep an eye on. Luke says Purdy's quick release and vision will complement Deebo, Brandon, Ayuk, George Kittle very well. It does. It definitely does. That's where when you look at this game, and there's going to be all that talk about the pass rush, and it's very similar to, the last time the 49ers played a game that meant anything out in Philadelphia, the talk was all about the pass rush, how they're going to deal with the pass rush. And they came out and they tried a shot play right away. I think the 49ers just need to go in there and just do what you do. Let the game come to you a little bit, take it. And when that shot opens up, maybe second, third, fourth possession of the game, take it, but just open it up early. Just let your playmakers make plays. Let the quarterback get the ball out of his hands quick. Get the ball into the hands of Deebo Samuel. Get it to Christian McCaffrey. Hit Brandon Ayuk. Get George Kittle on those. The 49ers matchups where they have a matchup advantage when it comes to their offense against this defense. And again, we're getting down a rabbit hole here with the game, but that's okay. I think when you look at this game, the 49ers offensive advantage is against the linebackers of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers revamping their linebacking core this offseason, those inside linebackers. Quan Alexander, one of them. I think the 49ers have a matchup that they can take advantage of there. It's going to be tough for them to run up inside against that odd man front that Pittsburgh presents. I think the 49ers have yet to show the ability to push off the ball, push defensive lines off the ball. Looking at what they did out in Vegas during the preseason there, how the first team offensive line played in the second preseason game against Denver, and the lack of push that they got against DJ Jones. So that there's some concern there for me in terms of their ability to generate push. So they may have to utilize the short passing game, that short, quick passing game a little bit more. One last thing that I want to hit on, and this is George Kittle. I want to talk about Nick Bosa a little bit more, and I want to speak directly to the contract. And you look at Nick Bosa's deal, It was reported $170 million over 5 years, $122.5 million guaranteed. We also know that there was a signing bonus that's been reported of about $50 million. The other thing that's been reported is that this is going to be in addition to his current deal. So that means we're going to see Nick Bosa with the 49ers over the course of 6 years. So that changes the numbers a little bit. So yes, it's 5 years, $170 million in new money, $34 million per year of new money. But when you look at this deal, it's about $187 million total over a 6-year period. So the actual average annual value of this deal over the course of that 6 years is $31.4 million. So it's a little bit different, but again, it's all based on from a talking standpoint, the amount of new money that was put into this is $34 million per year. That's where the agents and the players are looking at it. But in terms of for the 49ers, it's about $31.4 million per year on an average annual value for Nick Bosa. And you look at Bosa, you look up the numbers, 18.5 sacks last year, 48 quarterback hits. Those numbers are huge when you compare them to the other 4 edge rushers that they have on their roster right now, who you take their career highs and put them all together. And that group of Drake Jackson, Clelin Ferrell, Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder Jr., you put their career best together and you get 20.5 sacks and 41 quarterback hits. Compare that to Nick Bosa, it's not even close. But where I really wanted to go with this is, let's just talk real quick about the future in terms of the 49ers salary cap situation, because I saw a tweet today about the 49ers are going to be in salary cap hell soon. I've seen people talk about, not doing this with Nick Bosa. Instead of giving Nick Bosa all this money, trade him, because you got to get Brandon Ayuk taken care of and all these types of things, right? So let's just chat about this just for a second. Just a couple numbers just for you to think about before we end the show. The 49ers, they got the deal done. Next up, it's going to be Ayuk. We know that. And they've done a really good job. They've taken care of their own, except for DeForest Buckner. But Buckner wasn't a member of this regime. He wasn't drafted by this group. So, you look at it, you look at Bosa's contract, other big deal numbers that they've given. And what I would say is the dirty little secret about the NFL salary cap, yes, it's a hard cap, but there's always a way for teams to they can always find a way. If a team really likes a player, they can find a way to make it work within that salary cap. There's all kinds of levers that you can pull. So, for example, you look at the 49ers, they pulled some levers yesterday. We already know this. They saved $23.224 million in cap space against this year's cap by reworking the contracts of George Kittle and Trent Williams. And this is a good example of how the 49ers are going to be able to stay on top of their game. They're going to be able to keep Ayuk. If they want to keep Brandon Ayuk, if the 49ers want to keep Brandon Ayuk, they can do it. There's things that they can do. And here's what I mean by that. You look at the guys who have the bigger contracts on this team. And one of the things that you notice is a lot of the big cap hits that they have is due to large base salaries. Well, those base salaries can be converted into signing bonus. They can be converted into other kind of, they can be converted into other areas in order to save against the cap, because you can restructure that money, spread it out over a 5-year period, and it works. Yeah, you always eventually have to pay the piper, but if you do it with the right guys, if you give the money to the right players, to the guys like George Kittle and Fred Warner and Deebo Samuel and Eric Armstead and Trent Williams, the guys who, you're paying them a lot of money, but they're also giving you a lot of production, it always works out for you in the end. So when you look at this, what I would say is 49ers have the flexibility, did the numbers today, they could free up a little over $82 million if they decided to restructure the top guys on their payroll next year. If you look at guys like Deebo Samuel, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, they can free up over $82 million. Another name, Dre Greenlaw, would be another name that they could reach out to if they wanted to reduce some costs. Deebo Samuel is the biggest one. They can save up to almost $6 million, almost 15.6 for Deebo Samuel alone. Charvarius Ward, we talked about him earlier on the show. That's another one that they could go to. They could save $8.9 million there. With Dre Greenlaw, it's $5.05 million. We know that they just did Kittle and Williams yesterday, but they could always go back to the well there if they wanted to, or Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey has very little money that's tied up in signing bonuses and those types of things. They could still free up $8.1 million with Christian McCaffrey as well. So, they're at $81.941 million in potential savings against the cap if they want to do it. Now, it doesn't make sense to do it all at once unless you have guys that you're going to sign, right? You don't free up money just to free up money. You free up money because you have other places that you want to go. And they do a really good job of moving money around and setting things up in this type of a situation. So like Luke Walsh says, historically, Lynch and Parag like game bonuses and out clauses. Seems like Bosa held out for guaranteed money. Well, we haven't quite seen all of the details yet on the Bosa deal, but I feel like what we're going to see with Bosa is that guaranteed money is going to be in terms of guarantees that hit it at different times. So what I'm getting at is I don't think the 49ers are going to be in salary cap hell. A team like the New Orleans Saints, they were supposed to be in they were supposed to. If you listen to people talk about the salary cap around the New Orleans Saints a few years ago, the Saints were going out of business. They weren't going to have a very good team. I think the Saints are going to be possibly one of the better. I think the Saints could possibly be a playoff team. I think there's a very good chance it's going to be between the Saints and the Falcons, I think, in the NFC South this year. So I do think that there's a chance there. Bomber T wants to know who's injured. He missed that, Bomber, but I'll come back to it real quick. Charvarius Ward missed practice today. He was out with a heel injury. Talanoa Hufanga also out today. He didn't have an injury. He was out for personal reasons, but he has been dealing with a Baker's cyst in his knee, which can lead to other problems. But he was out today, not because of that. They had him out for personal reasons. So those are the injuries. We're not sure exactly how bad it is yet with Ward. As Andrew says, according to Kyle Shanahan on his radio show today, he said that it's not that serious, that they feels like he's going to be able to play. But we'll see. We'll see the direction that it takes there. So those two out. But the biggest thing is I wanted to make sure you understood what happened today at practice. Nick Bosa got on the field a little bit. Ward and Hufanga out. You had John Feliciano and Trent Williams return. Everybody else looks like they're really good to go. The Flyers look like they're in a really good spot, this Ward injury being the one to keep an eye on just because of the receivers and the threat that the receivers of the Pittsburgh Steelers pose to the 49ers. So there you have it, everybody. Take it for what it's worth. I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to tune in. If you can do me a favor, please hit that like button. After you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching, you're already subscribed to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And then last but not least, also turn on your notifications so that way you don't miss any of the updates right here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. I will be back tomorrow at 12:30 with Larry Kruger for our regular Friday hit. It'll be Friday at 12:30 this week, a little bit later in the morning. So make sure you tune into that. But again, like, subscribe, notifications. And like I always say, take it for what it's worth. Try to give you the best information possible here on the channel. Have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the games. And I will be back, like I said, tomorrow, 12:30, right here. Take care. Hey, and you also got some information in terms of Brock Purdy will be posted on this channel in about 2 hours.